God is speaking right here, right now. And this isn't noise, this isn't coincidence. It is a divine moment wrapped in clarity. He is not whispering anymore. He is saying it loud. Let's go, not later. Not when everything feels safe or sorted tomorrow. That is when the shift begins. And no, this isn't about chasing a date on a calendar. It is about recognizing a spiritual window. God is opening for you. You have been in a season of waiting, crying out in the dark, asking when. You fought battles silently. You have wondered if your prayers even pierced the sky. But heaven heard every word, saw every tear. And now the answer is on the way. Not as a maybe, not as a possibility, as a promise that is already moving. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." And guess what? The time is right, the delay has broken. The silence has lifted. This is your signal to prepare not just your suitcase, but your soul. Clean the clutter, lighten the load, make room, because what is coming will not fit into the old version of your life. No, you will not understand it all. God doesn't need you to. He is not handing out blueprints. He is giving you an invitation, and when he says, "Let's go," it is not a suggestion. It is a breakthrough in motion. You were chosen for this moment, and deep down you know it. If something in your chest is stirring, that is your spirit saying yes. So don't scroll past. Stay with me. We are about to pray over this next step together, and something will shift. Now, if you are ready to walk into your purpose with faith, not fear, type Amen in the comments. Let heaven see your agreement. Let hell hear your commitment, and let your own heart feel the power of saying yes to the call. You are not too late. You are right on time, God said. Let's go. And this time, you are going with him. Something sacred is unfolding. Not in a distant future, not in a far-off season tomorrow, but not just any tomorrow. This is a divine appointment written into your story before time itself began. Long before you were formed in the womb, before you breathed your first breath. This hour was etched into God's plan. You may not see it, but heaven has already moved on your behalf. What feels like sudden change is actually ancient design finally arriving at your doorstep. Think of Esther. She wasn't raised in a palace, but she was placed in one for a reason. And when the moment came, Mori didn't say, "Think about it." He said, "Who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." Esther 4:14, that is the weight and wonder of what is happening now. This is your moment, not just a new day, but a shift in destiny. You have been walking through deserts of doubt. You have whispered prayers into silent nights, wondering if God still sees you. And he does. The silence wasn't absence. It was preparation. He has been building the road beneath your feet while you have been standing still. Now the time has come to move, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. This isn't about changing location. It is about stepping into a higher calling, a deeper alignment, a life that finally reflects the promises God whispered to you when no one else was listening. But movement requires readiness. Imagine you are standing in your room, suitcase open. What do you take with you? Not clothes, but courage. Not shoes, but wisdom earned through every fire you have walked through. Pack your faith, your resilience, your praise from the midnight hours. But just as importantly, know what to leave behind: the shame, the self-doubt, the voices that said, "You are not enough." Like the Israelites who had to leave Egypt behind, Even in mindset, you cannot take the chains of your past into the freedom of your future. God is not just calling you out. He is calling you up. Isaiah 43:18-19 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? A new thing is springing up right beneath your feet." This is a spiritual relocation. You are not being sent into the unknown. You are being placed into something prepared. Like Ruth stepping into the field, not knowing it belonged to Boaz. Your obedience is leading you straight into favor. You didn't miss it. You are not late. You are right on time. So, what do you do in this countdown? You stay alert, stay humble, keep your spirit uncluttered so you can hear the instructions clearly. The countdown isn't a pause. It is a charge. Every second is soaked in purpose. This is the stillness before the curtain rises. The quiet right before resurrection, when Jesus said, "Lazarus, come out." The stone had already been rolled away. The command didn't come with explanation, it came with power. And when God speaks over your life now, it will not be to ask, it will be to awaken, so don't underestimate the silence. It is the final inhale before release. Don't resist the urge to pack light. What is ahead will require room to grow, space to breathe, and a heart unburdened by the old weight. What is coming isn't just a new day. It is a new way of living, and tomorrow. Tomorrow begins the rest of your life. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you are standing in a sacred in-between. A space where the old has begun to fade, but the new has not yet fully arrived. It is like watching the tide shift, knowing something powerful is happening beneath the surface, even though the shoreline hasn't yet changed. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you are straddling two dimensions. The life you have known, the one shaped by pain, delay, and misunderstanding, is slowly releasing its grip. But the life you were always meant to live, the one designed by God, with intentionality, healing, and favor, is already beginning to rise on the horizon. This is not a void. This is a spiritual threshold, a holy tension, a divine cocoon where transformation happens out of sight. And though this moment may feel confusing, like you are suspended between what was and what will be, it is exactly where God does his most mysterious and miraculous work. It is where he prepares you not just to enter a new season, but to become someone who can carry the weight and beauty of that season. The old timeline held its lessons. It was not wasted. The pain you endured did not disqualify you. It refined you. Those lonely nights when your prayers felt like they bounced off the ceiling, God heard every word. The unanswered doors, the missed chances, the friendships that faded, the betrayals you never saw coming. They were all part of the soil where your roots grew deep. As Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." You have sown much now. God is preparing the harvest. But before you cross over, there is a choice. A letting go. Not everything can come with you into the life God is unveiling. Some patterns, some memories, some self-perceptions have to be released, not because they were meaningless, but because they are now too small for the future ahead. God isn't just changing your surroundings. He is changing your identity. You are not who you were, and you will not be going back to the version of yourself shaped by survival. This moment echoes the story of Abram, who was told in Genesis 12, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." No map, no details, just a promise and a call to trust. Abram didn't just change his location, he became Abraham, the father of nations. And that shift didn't happen by clinging to comfort. It came through obedience in the unknown. You too are being called out, not just physically, but spiritually called out of scarcity thinking, out of self-doubt, out of narratives that tell you you are too late or not enough. You are not too broken. You are not forgotten. You are not stuck. You are becoming. Crossing into this God-prepared reality means shedding the weight of yesterday. Hebrews 12:1 urges us to throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, so we can run with perseverance the race marked out for us. You cannot run freely if you are dragging chains from a cause chapter that is already closed. The regret, the resentment, the grief you have kept tucked away like old letters. They were never meant to come with you. God is not asking you to forget, but He is asking you to release. What felt like loss was often divine protection. What felt like delay was actually preservation, and what looked like silence was sacred strategy. There is a woman I once knew who had prayed for years to be seen and valued, for someone to recognize the depth of her heart. Every relationship left her emptier than the last. She nearly gave up. But in that season of waiting, she began to see herself through God's eyes, not others' opinions. She stopped begging to be chosen and started walking as someone already loved. And not long after, without striving, she was placed in a role of influence and impact far beyond what she had asked for. That is what happens when you stop forcing your way forward and start flowing in divine timing. You are not walking into just any future. You are being moved into one that was tailor-made for the real. You, not the filtered, edited version you have shown to survive, but the you God always saw, even in your darkest hour. This is not ambition, it is alignment. Ephesians 2:10 says, "We are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Your destiny is not random, it is prepared. But you have to be ready to move when the cloud moves. When the Israelites followed the cloud by day and the fire by night in the wilderness, they didn't always know where they were going, but they knew when it was time to go. And when the cloud lifted, they moved. This is such a moment. Your spirit senses it. Even if your mind cannot explain it, there is a restlessness, a stirring, a quiet urgency that says, "Get ready," and here is the truth. The acceleration that is coming will feel sudden, but it will not be reckless. It is heaven's response to your years of hidden faithfulness. God is about to do in days what you couldn't accomplish in years. Not because you earned it, but because you are aligned. You have yielded. You have grown. And now He can trust you with more. You are not walking into this next season empty. You are walking in crowned, not because you are better than anyone else, but because God uses those who stay when it is hard, who worship when it hurts, who refuse to let go of Him when it would be easier to walk away. So don't resist the shift. Let it carry you. Let it renew you. Let it surprise you. The timeline you are stepping into isn't built on logic. It is built on promise, on mercy, on destiny. You are not here by accident. You never were. And what is ahead is more than a breakthrough. It is your becoming. Before the shift arrives in full, before doors open and the new season sweeps you into its rhythm, there is a quiet truth that must settle into your spirit. Divine movement doesn't begin in the clouds. It begins in your character. Heaven's timing often feels sudden, but its alignment with your life has been in the making for a long time. And what you choose to do in the now, this moment, right here, is what determines how you will step into what is next. Not someday. Today, God doesn't elevate randomly. He doesn't move people by emotion. He moves those whose hearts are already postured to walk when He whispers, "Go." He relocates souls who have learned to listen, respond, and adjust even when nothing around them has changed yet. The stirring you feel, the tension, the inner discomfort, the subtle sense that what once felt fine now feels too small, is not just restlessness, it is revelation. 1 Samuel 3:10 tells the story of young Samuel who kept hearing his name in the night. At first he didn't recognize the voice, but eventually he answered, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." That simple, willing posture unlocked his prophetic future. God often starts with whispers, with holy agitation in places where you once felt settled. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to the little things your soul reacts to. The shift begins there. If certain conversations leave you feeling diminished or drained, that is not random. If you walk into certain environments and your peace slips away quietly, that is not weakness. That is wisdom knocking. Start honoring those moments. Not loudly, not defensively, just gently through small boundaries that honor your inner health. You are not being difficult. You are being faithful. Begin preparing your space like someone who expects a guest of honor, because in many ways, you are the guest. You are making room for the next version of yourself. Go through your room, your workspace, even the files on your phone and laptop. If something represents fear, clutter, unresolved emotion, or the outdated version of your story, begin to release it. God doesn't require perfection. He desires participation. As you clean and clear, whisper prayers that anchor the act in faith. God, remove what is no longer needed. Make space in me for what is next. Watch how peace settles where chaos once lived. Even your words spoken in passing carry weight. There is a time for telling your story, but there is also a time to stop rehearsing your pain as if it still owns you. Stop offering your deepest wounds to people who were never meant to carry them. God is not asking for silence rooted in fear. He is inviting you into strategic stillness. You are not called to explain this transition. You are called to walk it with grace. Your relationship with God doesn't have to look intense or dramatic in this season. He is not asking for grand performances. He is asking for presence. 10 honest minutes a day. No begging, no performance. Just openness can do more for your soul than hours of striving. When Elijah ran into the wilderness exhausted and afraid, God didn't meet him with thunder. He met him with a gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:12, stillness sharpens your ears. It softens your heart. It readies you to recognize divine timing, not just as a moment, but as a movement. And as you draw near, be prepared to practice real-time release. When bitterness rises like a tide, don't wrestle it alone, hand it over. When disappointment knocks again, don't host it, offer it. You forgive not to excuse the past, but to stay light enough to move forward. You surrender not to show weakness, but to stay flexible in the hands of a God who is writing your next chapter in real time. Then, examine your habits through a new lens. Not just whether they are good or bad, but whether they are aligned with who you are becoming. Are they nurturing your next season or anchoring you to survival mode? Your sleep, your rhythms, your food, your digital habits, even your conversations. None of these are too small to matter. Steward them as acts of belief. Discipline in this context is not about restriction, it is about readiness. God is not leading you into more chaos. He is leading you into divine order. When the nudge comes to apply for something beyond your comfort zone, to let go of something that once felt essential, or to step into something without full clarity, respond. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't demand a guarantee. Obedience in the small creates momentum for the monumental. You don't need to see the full blueprint. You just need to trust the builder. This is how you prepare, not by striving, but by steady, faithful action. Each quiet yes becomes a brick in the path toward what God has already written. As you live this way, the tension of waiting shifts. You will notice that the panic begins to ease. Peace takes its place. Urgency is replaced with deep trust. Clarity grows. And you no longer feel the need to rush, because you will understand that preparation isn't passive. It is the loudest declaration of trust you can offer. It says, I believe God is coming through, and I am getting ready to receive him. This is the sacred rhythm of transition. This is the quiet work that shapes the loud breakthrough. And you right now are right in the middle of it. Everything, every moment, every heartbreak, every delay has been part of a divine arrangement, far more intricate than you could have imagined. Behind the scenes, while you felt forgotten, God was weaving together the strands of your life with masterful precision. Not a thread has been misplaced. Not a single event was random. He is not only the author of your story, he is also the editor, the architect, and the strategist, aligning timelines and people, shaping your heart, and preparing circumstances to converge in ways you couldn't plan if you tried. What felt like chaos was actually construction. What looked like loss was necessary loosening. Even the closed doors, the ones that left you aching in confusion, were part of the blueprint. Psalm 147:3 says, He heals the broken-hearted and binds up their wounds. But often that healing happens while we are still walking through the unknown. You didn't miss it. You didn't fall behind. You were being aligned, refined, and positioned not for comfort, but for calling. God's alignment doesn't require your perfection. It requires your surrender. He doesn't wait until you have it all figured out. He waits until your heart is ready to carry the weight of what he is about to release. Alignment is about posture, being yielded enough to hear him, responsive enough to move, and brave enough to let go of what no longer fits. You have been stretched in silence. You have grown through hidden seasons where it felt like no one noticed, where your faith was tested, not in public stages, but in private trenches. And now you are stepping into that rare moment where everything God has been building in secret begins to align in the open. Your gift will meet your assignment. Your healing will match your influence. Your preparation will collide with your promotion. And when it happens, it will not be subtle. This next move of God will not come with fanfare, but it will come with clarity. It will not require announcements, because the fruit will speak for itself. You will look up one day and realize you no longer live in the atmosphere of your old life. And others will wonder where you went, how you changed so quickly, how you slipped out of the box they tried to keep you in. You will not owe anyone an explanation, because this isn't about disappearance. It is about transformation. Just as Moses came down from Mount Sinai with his face radiant, unrecognizable after encountering the presence of God. Exodus, scarcity, O Joe. You will return to the world carrying evidence of where you have been and who you have become. Not everyone will understand the shift, and that is okay. The ones who are meant to walk with you in this new season will recognize your new sound. Others simply will not. You are not just changing scenes, you are changing dimensions. The version of you that was once overlooked, underestimated, even mistreated, that version has served its purpose. But it is not the version crossing over. God is reintroducing you in a new realm wrapped in wisdom, crowned with clarity, covered in favor. Where you once begged for validation, now you will be trusted with influence. Where you once felt invisible, now you will be seen and sent. This is not ego, it is elevation. You will feel it before you see it. It begins subtly. The conversations that once excited you will now feel hollow. The rooms you used to fit in will suddenly feel too tight. The places that once felt like comfort will now feel like compromise. And you will wonder, why am I no longer at peace here? But that discomfort is your confirmation. God is gently disconnecting you from what you have outgrown, not to punish you, but to prepare you. This is the cost of expansion. It is not always loud, but it is always real. Your spirit is awakening to a new frequency, one that refuses to settle for less than what it was made for. It is why you feel the tension. It is why you sense the need to move without fully knowing where. This mirrors the story of the prophet Elisha. When Elijah's mantle was placed upon him, 1 Kings 19:19, he didn't just follow the call. He burned the plow. He left behind everything familiar to step into something sacred. That is what this season requires. A willingness to say goodbye to what fed the old version of you, and a readiness to walk forward even if it costs your comfort. You have prayed for the new doors, but they require a new you. And that means you cannot shrink to fit into places that were only meant to grow you, not contain you. You cannot lower your light to make others more comfortable with your breakthrough. If your presence makes others uncomfortable, let it be a sign that you have shifted and keep moving. Yes, the past will try to call you back. Old patterns will whisper their familiar songs, but the future has already answered. It is already unfolding. The grace for the old places has lifted, and the pull toward what is ahead is too strong to ignore. And when the moment comes, and it will, when you feel the undeniable sense that something has changed, that you no longer belong where you once did, don't fight it. Don't mourn what no longer fits. That is not arrogance. That is confirmation. The friction you feel is evidence of your growth. Let the shift be quiet if it needs to be. Let the exit be unseen. Let the transformation be undeniable. You are not walking away from who you were. You are stepping into who you truly are. Not lost, not late aligned. As this new timeline opens before you, there is a deeper transition taking place. One that often goes unnoticed, yet is just as crucial as any outward change. It is not the shift in circumstances that challenges most people. It is the shift in response to blessing. When you have spent years in survival mode, learning to navigate disappointment and defend your heart from repeated pain, the presence of peace can feel unfamiliar, not because you don't deserve it, but because your system doesn't yet recognize it as safe. For a long time, you were trained by struggle. Your body learned how to stay alert, how to anticipate loss, how to manage chaos like it was normal. You became fluent in exhaustion, skilled at holding things together while everything around you unraveled. That version of you was strong, but that strength came at a cost. It shaped how you saw yourself and how you expected the world to treat you. Now, as God moves you into a realm of favor, where striving is no longer required for survival, your soul is learning a new rhythm, one that doesn't brace but breathes. The absence of anxiety may feel suspicious. At first, quiet mornings may feel eerie. Doors opening without resistance might stir old reflexes that ask, what is the catch? But these aren't signs of trouble, they are signs of healing. As Isaiah 30:15 reminds us, in returning and rest, you shall be saved. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. The peace you feel now isn't the absence of reality. It is the arrival of divine alignment. You are not losing awareness. You are gaining stability, and something else is shifting too. Your desires, the things you once chased so urgently, now seem less pressing. What used to validate your worth doesn't carry the same weight. You may find yourself uninterested in achievements that once consumed your focus. That isn't apathy, it is maturity. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." But before God gives, He reshapes the desire itself. He purifies your hunger so it can lead you into what truly sustains. You are not losing ambition. You are gaining wisdom about what actually feeds your soul. And joy, perhaps the most misunderstood emotion in seasons of transition, begins to evolve. It is no longer the explosive highs that crash just as quickly. It becomes quieter, more rooted. It flows like a steady stream instead of crashing waves. This joy doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't require constant affirmation. It is the kind of joy that lets you smile in solitude. The kind that doesn't leave when opinions change. The kind that quietly walks with you through every room you enter. But with increase comes something else. Responsibility. Not the burden kind that wears you down, but the sacred kind that invites you to steward peace. In this realm, you are not called to perform for your worth. You are called to preserve your stillness. And that stillness becomes a form of strength. You no longer feel the need to prove you belong in every space. You understand your value isn't up for debate. Your soul learns to settle. Sometimes, though, peace brings an unexpected companion. Grief. Not grief for what you lack now, but for how long you lived without what should have always been yours. You may look back and feel a heaviness, realizing how long you normalized dysfunction, how often you blamed yourself for things you never caused. Let that grief come. Don't resist it, let it honor your past. Then release it so you can live freely in the present. This kind of healing, this deep invisible reorientation, is what allows you to sustain what God gives. Many can receive breakthrough, but few can remain in it without falling back into the old habits, old expectations, old fears. That is why God is not just changing your situation. He is expanding your capacity, teaching you how to live without suspicion, how to breathe without bracing, how to stay open when you have been taught to protect. This is what makes the relocation permanent. Understand this. The new timeline doesn't always feel loud or dramatic. It is not about high emotion. It is about clarity. It doesn't demand every ounce of your energy. It actually restores what was drained. You will know you have entered it, not because everything outside looks different, but because you respond differently. You pause before reacting. You listen longer. You don't need to defend your growth. You let your fruit speak. The shift becomes most evident when your inner life stops resisting goodness. When your nervous system no longer prepares for disaster the moment something goes right. When peace feels normal and chaos feels foreign. When you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios and begin expecting God's faithfulness to show up again. And it will. It always does. This is when you know you are no longer visiting your breakthrough. You are living in it. You are not just seeing new doors open, you are becoming someone who can walk through them with grace. You are not just receiving more. You are learning how to hold it without fear of it slipping away. You are not just being blessed, you are being rebuilt. And the truest sign that you have relocated, you have stopped preparing for the worst. And you have started staying when the good arrives. You have walked through seasons where your worth was ignored, your effort overlooked, and your voice silenced. You kept showing up, carrying more than anyone knew, giving more than you had, and holding on with faith that sometimes felt too thin to speak aloud. But even then, God was near. You were never created to live in survival forever. That season served a purpose. but it was not meant to become your identity. What lies ahead is not simply better, it is blessed. What you are stepping into is not a slightly improved version of the past. It is a completely redefined reality, one drenched in divine favor. And this new realm carries promises from God that aren't distant or vague. They are personal, precise, and powerful: respect, provision, wholeness, peace,